They said a woman like me, black, broke, behind bars, had no business even breathing the same air as him. But funny thing about fate, she don't care about your zip code or your prison number. Sometimes the most unlikely hearts collide. And baby, when they do, the whole world shifts. If you've ever felt invisible, counted out, or told you weren't enough, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you will make you believe in second chances. And trust me, you'll want to hear every single word. My name is Tiana, and before you start thinking this is some fairy tale about a billionaire sweeping a poor girl off her feet, let me stop you right there. This ain't that. This is about a woman who lost everything, found herself in hell, and clawed her way back to life. The billionaire? He just happened to be there when I remembered how to breathe again. 3 years ago, I was working two jobs trying to keep my head above water. I had a 6-year-old daughter named Brianna, the kind of beautiful that makes you believe in God even on your worst days. I worked in accounts at a mid-sized company during the day, then cleaned offices at night. I was tired, yeah, but I was making it work. My baby had food, had clothes, had a mama who loved her more than air itself. Then one morning, everything fell apart. Federal agents showed up at my job, walked me out in handcuffs in front of everybody. They said I'd been embezzling money. $75,000 gone from client accounts. My manager, this white woman named Beverly, who I thought was my friend, she'd been stealing for months and covered her tracks by making it look like me. She knew I had access. She knew I'd be the easy target. And she was right. I couldn't afford a good lawyer. The public defender they gave me was handling 40 cases at once. He told me to take a plea deal. Said a black woman with my background wouldn't stand a chance in front of a jury. I told him I was innocent. He said that didn't matter, and you know what broke me? He wasn't wrong. I went to trial anyway because I couldn't stand the thought of my daughter thinking her mama was a thief. The jury took 3 hours to convict me. 5 years they gave me. 5 years for a crime I didn't commit. My sister took Brianna. I'll never forget my baby's face when they led me away from that courtroom. Her crying, reaching for me, not understanding why mommy couldn't come home. That sound, her screaming for me, that became the soundtrack of my nightmares. Prison strips you down to nothing. They take your name, give you a number. They take your clothes, give you a uniform. They take your dignity, give you commands. I became inmate 74926. I had a cellmate, this older black woman named Ruby who'd been locked up for 12 years. She had wisdom in her eyes that only comes from surviving what should have killed you. She told me the first night, "You can let this place break you, or you can let it build you. Choice is yours, baby girl." I chose to survive. I got assigned to work in the prison library, and let me tell you, those books became my salvation. I started writing poetry in the margins of old notebooks, pouring all my pain onto those pages. Every word I wrote was a prayer to see my daughter again. Ruby would read my poems and cry. She'd say, "Tiana, you got something special. Don't let these walls make you forget that." Then one day they announced a new program. Some tech company was partnering with the prison to offer job training and business skills classes. Most of the women didn't bother applying. What's the point of learning skills when you got a record? Who's going to hire us? But Ruby pushed me. "This is your door opening, baby. Walk through it." So I applied, not because I had hope, but because I had nothing left to lose. I got accepted. And that's when everything changed. His name was Harrison Mitchell. 38 years old, white, billionaire, founder of some tech company I'd never heard of because I was too busy surviving to follow rich people's names. The program director said he'd be coming to teach a class himself. I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. Another rich white man coming to play savior, to feel good about himself helping the poor, unfortunate prisoners. I'd seen it before. They come, take some photos, write a check, and disappear. But when Harrison walked into that classroom, something felt different. He didn't have that look they usually have, that mixture of pity and fear. He looked tired, sad even. He introduced himself, kept it simple, then asked us something nobody had asked in years. "What are your dreams?" The room went silent. Dreams? We're in prison. We don't get to have dreams. But he waited, genuinely waited for someone to answer. One woman said she wanted to see her kids. Another said she wanted to learn computers. Then he looked at me, and I don't know what possessed me, but I said, "Dreams don't pay for lawyers, and they don't prove innocence. So what's the point?" I expected him to get defensive, to give some motivational speech about positive thinking. Instead, he nodded and said, "You're right. Dreams alone don't do any of that. But giving up guarantees you'll stay exactly where you are. I'm not here to sell you false hope. I'm here to offer you tools. What you do with them is up to you." Something in his voice told me he understood loss. Real loss. Not the kind you read about, but the kind that wakes you up at 3 in the morning and won't let you go back to sleep. He started coming every week. Harrison taught us about business, about technology, about thinking differently. But more than that, he listened. Really listened. When women shared their stories, he didn't interrupt or judge. He sat there and absorbed every word like it mattered, like we mattered. I tried to keep my distance. I didn't need complications, didn't need to start feeling things I had no business feeling. But one day after class, he noticed my poetry notebook. I'd left it on the desk by accident. He picked it up, and before I could snatch it back, he read the one on top. It was about Brianna, about how I was missing her grow up, about how I wondered if she'd remember my face. When he looked up, there were tears in his eyes. Real tears. "This is beautiful," he said quietly. "You have a gift." I wanted to be strong, wanted to tell him to mind his business. But instead, I broke. Right there in that classroom, I cried for the first time since I'd been locked up. And Harrison didn't try to fix it, didn't try to stop it. He just handed me tissues and waited until I could breathe again. After that, we talked. Really talked. I told him my whole story, the accusation, the trial, the daughter I couldn't hold. And he believed me. Just like that, no hesitation. He believed me. Then he shared his own pain. His wife had died from cancer 2 years earlier. He'd been so focused on building his company that he missed signs, missed time with her. She was gone before he could say half the things he needed to say. He told me he'd been throwing himself into charity work because staying busy was the only way he could survive the guilt. "We're both serving sentences," I told him. "Mine has bars, yours doesn't, but we're both locked up." Something shifted between us that day. He offered to help investigate my case, to hire lawyers. I refused. I had too much pride left to let him save me, but he respected that. He didn't push. He just kept showing up, kept treating me like a human being instead of a number. The other inmates started noticing. The way we'd linger after class, the way he'd smile when he saw me, the way my whole face would light up when he walked in. Ruby pulled me aside one evening. "Girl, be careful with your heart. That man is falling for you, and you're falling right back. But this ain't a romance novel. This is real life with real consequences." I knew she was right, but knowing something and feeling something are two different things. I was falling in love with Harrison Mitchell, and it terrified me. What business did I have loving a billionaire? What business did he have loving a convicted felon? It was impossible. It was wrong. It was real. Then he stopped coming. 2 weeks went by with no Harrison, no explanation. I thought he'd finally come to his senses, realized how crazy this whole situation was. I thought he'd abandoned me like everyone else. I tried to tell myself it was better this way, that I needed to focus on surviving my sentence and getting back to my daughter. But my heart wasn't listening to my head. When he finally came back, he looked wrecked. He pulled me aside after class and said, "I stayed away because I have feelings for you, Tiana." Real feelings. And I know how inappropriate that is. I know all the reasons this is wrong, but I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop caring about what happens to you. I should have shut it down right there. Should have protected both of us from the inevitable heartbreak. Instead, I told him the truth. I feel it too. What I didn't know was that Harrison had been using those 2 weeks to hire private investigators and lawyers. He'd been digging into my case without telling me, looking for evidence to prove my innocence. He found it. Emails Beverly had thought she'd deleted, bank records showing her deposits, testimony from other employees who'd noticed discrepancies. He took everything to the district attorney and threatened to go to the media if they didn't review my conviction. When I found out, I was furious. I told him I didn't need saving, that he had no right to go behind my back. We had our first real fight right there in the prison visiting room. But then he said something that broke through my anger. This isn't about saving you, Tiana. You're the strongest person I know. You don't need saving. This is about justice. This is about making sure the truth gets told. The media caught wind of our relationship. Suddenly, we were everywhere. Headlines about the billionaire and his prison girlfriend, tabloids calling it a scandal. His company's board of directors pressured him to step away from the program. His late wife's family called him disrespectful. Social media exploded with racist attacks against me. People saying I was using him, trapping him, playing the victim. The prison threatened to shut down the whole education program. Harrison could have walked away, should have walked away. It would have been easier for everyone. Instead, he held a press conference and said, I'd rather lose my company than lose my integrity. Tiana is innocent, and I'm going to stand by her until everyone knows the truth. My case went back to court. Harrison testified about the evidence. They brought my daughter to the courthouse, and I got to see her through the glass. Brianna was 9 years old now, had lost 3 years of childhood memories with her mama. She pressed her little hand against the glass, and I pressed mine against hers, and I promised her that one way or another, I was coming home. The judge reviewed everything, the emails, the bank records, the testimony. After 3 days of hearings, she overturned my conviction. I was free. After 3 years in hell, I walked out of that courthouse a free woman. But freedom isn't simple when you've been locked up. I had PTSD from prison. Loud noises made me jump. Crowds made me panic. I couldn't sleep without having nightmares. I reunited with Brianna, but she was different. I was different. We had to learn each other all over again. My sister apologized for doubting me, and I forgave her because holding on to anger would have been its own kind of prison. Harrison gave me space. He didn't pressure me for a relationship or expect gratitude. He offered me a legitimate job at his company in a position I was qualified for. I took it and worked harder than anyone else there because I needed to prove to myself, not to him, not to anyone else, that I could make it on my own merit. We started dating properly, slowly. Coffee dates, long walks, getting to know each other outside of prison walls. I went to therapy twice a week to work through my trauma. Harrison came with me sometimes, working through his own grief. We were two broken people learning how to be whole again, together. One day, Beverly, the woman who framed me, tried to apologize. She'd lost everything too, her reputation, her career. She wanted forgiveness. Part of me wanted to tell her to go to hell, wanted her to feel even a fraction of what I'd felt. But Ruby's voice echoed in my head. Bitterness is just another kind of cage, baby. So I looked Beverly in the eye and said, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. That's when I knew I was finally free. Not just legally, but in my soul. Ruby got paroled 6 months later. I helped her get a job and a place to stay, paying forward the hope she'd given me. Then I started a nonprofit to help wrongfully convicted people, using my own experience to fight for others still trapped in the system. Harrison funded it, but I ran it. My voice, my vision, my purpose. 1 year after I got out, Harrison proposed. Nothing fancy, just the two of us, on a regular Tuesday evening, in my small apartment with Brianna asleep in the next room. He got down on one knee and said, I don't want to save you. I don't want to rescue you. I just want to build a life with you. Will you marry me? I said yes. Not because he was rich, not because he helped me get out. I said yes because he saw me when I was invisible, believed me when everyone else called me a liar, and loved me when I couldn't love myself. This isn't a fairy tale. We still fight. We still struggle. Brianna still has hard days when she remembers the years I was gone. I still wake up sometimes thinking I'm back in that cell. Harrison still carries guilt about his late wife. We're both healing, both learning, both growing. But here's what I know for sure. My current situation was never my final destination. Being locked up didn't define me. Being broke didn't define me. Being Black in a system designed to break me didn't define me. I defined myself by refusing to give up, by holding on to hope when hope seemed stupid, by believing that somewhere beyond those bars there was still a life worth living. So that's my story. From cell block to CEO in training. From invisible to unstoppable. And let me tell you something, if you take nothing else from this, hear me now. Your current situation is not your final destination. Whether you're behind bars or behind on bills, whether society counted you out or locked you up, you are not done. Your story isn't over. Isn't If this touched your soul, drop a comment telling me your comeback story. Subscribe because I'm sharing more real stories about real people winning against all odds. Hit that like button if you believe in second chances. And share this with someone who needs to hear they're worthy of love, of freedom, of everything good. Remember, chains couldn't stop my destiny, and nothing can stop yours either. Now go write your next chapter.